Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 169 is Diablo. While Diablo wasn't literally the first action RPG, it might as well be. Everything before it doesn't matter, and everything after it just builds upon it. Most entries to the genre that come after it certainly have more nuanced systems, and if we're being honest, much better game feel. But even with how it shows its age, the original Diablo is still utterly timeless and well worth checking out. I already ranked Diablo Immortal as my 277th favorite game, and there's more to come down the line, but what makes the first Diablo game over 100 spots better than Immortal? Well, for starters, you're not reliant on other people. In all seriousness, there is a lot to love about the first Diablo. Is it clunky? Yes. Is your bag space infuriatingly small? Yes. Is it fun? Oh, you better believe the answer is yes. You start off in the town of Tristram, where they're having a bit of a demon problem. Problem is in they're spewing out of their cathedral and the outrageous layers of basements, catacombs, caves, and hellscapes beneath. There are 16 levels to this game, and 15 of them are below the ground. You play as one of 3 classes. Players take their pick of warrior, rogue, and sorcerer, and venture forth into the pits of death. Unlike most other games in the genre, the classes are exceptionally simple. In fact, they're not different. Okay, that's not entirely true. You have pretty drastically different starting stats, and your health and mana growth rate is different between them, plus some other minor differences, but there's no special skills or equipment based on your class. Everyone can do everything, but not everyone is going to excel at it without some effort. For Warrior, you're probably just beating face and good at taking a punch. For Rogue, you're probably building an archer that can use some magic in a pinch. For Sorcerer, you're probably not hitting very hard, but have deep mana reserves to sling lots of spells. In this video, I'm playing a sorcerer. You start off with a couple of spells, but can discover more as you go through each dungeon floor, or sometimes buy them from the local witch, Adria. Importantly, your staff you start with also has a spell imbued on it, which you can cast without spending any mana. However, every time you do that, it expends a charge. Once you run out or get low, you can either pay Adria money to restore your charges or use an ability you have to replenish them, but when you go that route, it lowers the maximum charges as well. The thing that I think Diablo 1 actually does better than any other action RPG I've ever played is the lower level gameplay. Due largely to technical limitations, you can't move very well, you don't have a ton of super flashy abilities, and fighting is relatively slow. Normally, this probably doesn't sound like an upside, but what it actually lets you do is enjoy a much more strategic action RPG that focuses on your long-term attrition as you clear out the levels of the dungeon. Enemies don't refresh when you go in and out of the dungeon, or even when you close and reopen the game. Everything dies once. This means you can't grind endlessly to keep powering up your character, so what you get is what you get. Admittedly, the difficulty curve is a little rough at times. The first boss of this attempt of the game, the Butcher, is way too hard for whatever level you'll be at when you find him. Thankfully, you can just keep delving deeper and then come back to him, or you can cheese him by getting him trapped in a specific spot and just shoot him until he dies. I opted to come back when I was leveled up more and just blitz him while chugging an outrageous amount of potions. But even that is risky, because not being able to kill more enemies or break more barrels or what have you means eventually you may run out of money. The game is a marathon and you're stuck with your mistakes. And I'm okay with that. The simplicity of the game makes it very replayable because it's so quick to just jump into. I mentioned that the Butcher was the first boss of this particular attempt of the game. That's because there's some randomization to the quests you're presented with, and you've got a 50-50 chance at your first quest being the Butcher or the Skeleton King, and there's other randomizations, which again, you can't refresh the dungeon, so you may need to do several playthroughs to see everything. So you might as well stay a while and kill some demons. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 168th favorite game, where I fight as God, and so does everyone else.